listeners.
This is episode 10,
Ooh,
milestone for us.
yeah, celebration.
And
Do we call this an anniversary? Because no, that means a year.
yeah,
So it's just a milestone. I see what you're saying
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, so what is the topic for today?
Oh, well, today I've chosen to go with something that is like a natural progression for where we've been going with our series.
Hmm.
Last couple of episodes, we decided to, answer some questions from our listeners. We do have more questions, but we'll get back to those in the coming weeks. Just keep sending them in. We do respond to people, you know, directly, but every now and again, yeah, questions do make great episodes.
Hmm.
But today we're going to be talking about impression versus truth.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is, and
It's
hmm,
There's a lot to be talked about.
yes. So here's my little scenario.
Okay.
All right, and if you live anywhere in North America, this is probably easier to relate to. Maybe not in some other places. I don't know. But here's the thing. So you're in the mall. You're hungry. You go to the food court.
Hmm.
hmm And there's so many options. But there is this person, usually with a little toothpick, and they have a sample on it. And they're just, trying to get your attention because there's so many options.
Hmm.
Sample, sample, sample. And, certain places, bourbon chicken,
Hmm.
garlic potatoes. You've probably heard these things if you've been to the mall,
Hmm.
in the food court, and you go up and you take that sample. You're indecisive about what you want to eat. And it's like, that sample is so good. It is delicious, it's nice heat, you know, the seasonings, the flavor. It's
Hmm.
really good. But then you decide, I really like this sample here. I'm gonna buy the meal. Then it's like, I don't know, was it too much? Is there something about now you saw them take the sample from the little bin thingy that they heat food in,
Hmm.
and then it's like it's right there. They took the sample from there. The person stick the toothpick in it and they give you that sample. But then when you buy the whole meal, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's underwhelming.
Yes,
Hmm.
and you wonder why. Like, why doesn't the entire meal give me the same thing, the same impression as that one bit on the toothpick?
Hmm.
That scenario, my good listeners, is literally what you experience when you are in a narcissistic, abusive relationship.
Hmm.
It's just that relationships are so big. They can span many years, months. Depends
Hmm.
on how long before you discover, before you test your truth,
Hmm.
to accept that, yeah, this didn't quite taste like the sample after all. That's what I want to jump into today.
Hmm.
That's the thing that some people struggle with in terms of assessing, in terms of testing their truth. Have you ever had one of those toothpick sample experiences?
Are you talking about the actual food or the relationship?
ah, we're gonna play around with some words today, yeah. Let, have you actually had that situation with the food, just out of
Yes,
curiosity?
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about
Yeah.
then. Yeah, I thought it was only me, right? Like everyone else would say, "Oh, you didn't get one. You must have gotten that one. That's really good." 'Cause that's the other thing that would throw me off, right?
Hmm.
You go around the food court, you get the samples like they'll tell you,
Hmm.
and they'll tell you, "Oh, my favorite place is whatever. I always get the garlic potatoes."
Yeah. Well, some places don't let you sample the beef, apparently. So
That sounds quite personal,
only chicken.
because they know that beef is so good.
Then why don't they sample it if it's so good and people would buy it? If it's... Anyway.
But yeah, but that's funny. That's the thing about it, right? So you get the sample and you realize, yeah, the whole meal is not the same thing.
Hmm.
get confused because everyone else thinks their meal was awesome. And I'm not saying it's not, but yours wasn't.
Hmm.
How do you feel about your meal? Well, not a real meal this time, though.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes, impressions was a huge starter of
Mm.
the two relationships I was involved in. The first one, oh, there's impressions flying all over the place.
Yeah, what kind of impressions?
Um, well, he drove a fancy vehicle,
Hmm.
so lots of money, wore like big gold jewelry, and wore these colorful sweatsuits with steel-toed boots,
Like
and
a rapper from
or a
the
drug dealer. I don't. Actually, that was my first impression. I actually thought he was a drug dealer.
Did you find that sample attractive as a result of that? Or you
Um,
was just like, oh, maybe?
the impression was, yeah, I you can't even begin to explain my state of mind back then. I was 19 years old, so I was fresh out of my mother's place.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for anything, and yeah, it's kind of a funny story how we began this relationship or how he got me.
Hmm.
Let's put it that way. But yeah, the impression was, he was a successful guy, and yeah, I guess I was attracted to that.
But tell me something then. What happened when you actually got the entire dish?
Yeah. uh, yeah,
Did any of the impressions like did they hold true?
no,
No.
no. Like in public, the impressions stayed intact, but
Interesting.
in the home, yeah, it was nothing like I thought it was.
Hmm.
I remember the first time I saw him lose his temper for whatever reason, something stupid, because it always was. Um, yeah, I was sitting in the bathroom and like asking myself, what the hell did I get myself into?
Hmm.
Because, yeah, the impression, yeah, he's a nice, bubbly, happy go lucky guy. And then I saw him lose his temper. It's like, wow, this is not the impression that I fell for. This is something totally different.
Interesting.
That was the first
Hmm. One is always enough, you know?
one. That was more
We
than enough.
yeah, but we never settle for that because impressions are powerful.
Hmm.
And if you live on the level of impression, you're going to want to follow through on what the impression represents.
Yep. You're going to want that all the time.
Yes. And you're going to want to believe that the sample, that impression that you receive, it holds true for the entire dish, for the
Hmm.
entire person, for the entire behavior. You think it represents all of the truth that you need to know about that person.
Yep. Big mistake.
It is. No, that's the thing about testing your truth. Testing your truth requires you to verify if the sample matches with your experience. But we don't do that.
Hmm.
No, what we do is we take the impression and we make the impression true. And we live like if the impression is in place even when it is not.
Right.
So why do we try to maintain impressions? I've always wondered about, and I've come to discover. I did some research. All
Right.
right, and what I've discovered is that the way how humans kind of tell truth, because remember, truth has this element of relativity.
Hmm.
See, many things can be true, but it doesn't mean it's true for everyone.
Mm.
Yes, many things can be true. But the challenge is, let's say I think this bottle, whatever, like I'm just gonna say a bottle because I'm just thinking bottle. I think that color is orange. And 10 other people say, yeah, that's orange. Another person says, nah, that's red. 10 people say it's orange, it's orange.
Hmm.
It's almost like this democratic, process
Yeah.
of what is true.
Yeah, depending on how many people believe it.
Precisely. And therefore, your belief system is kind of programmed that way. So if multiple people tell you that the impression that you
Mm.
experience represents the whole truth about a person, you find it difficult to live in your own truth when you're experiencing that person in a completely different realm.
Hmm. Yeah, you tend to excuse it away, and or maybe they're, you know, having a bad day. Maybe, they're just tired or whatever.
And then they're able to gaslight you because then they say things like, look what you made me do. See, these other people don't see me like this.
Mm-hmm.
Only you. You're the one who's saying this about me. Oh, so now I'm the bad person? Their reputation.
Mm. I was just about to say that. Yep.
Go on. Tell
It's
me.
the most important thing to them.
Yes. And they will let you know that
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because they're about impressions.
Yep. They'll let lawyers and judges know that.
Absolutely. They will go to court to prove that you are the liar and the cheat.
Yep. Yep. They sure will.
Yeah. So that's the thing about living in the land of impressions. No.
Hmm.
Are impressions always bad? No, not at all. But impressions and a narcissist, that's a that's an interesting mix.
Hmm.
That's poison.
Yep.
Narcissists love impressions. Why? Because we live in a land of impressions most of the time.
Hmm.
And they've found that impressions work really well to serve their purposes. And here's the thing about impressions, they're true within the realm of the impression.
Hmm.
So your narcissist is friendly, bubbly, great personality
Hmm.
on the level of the impression.
Yep.
It's absolutely true. They're wonderful people. They're absolutely smart.
Hmm.
Yes. It's also true. The other things that you experience:
Yep.
aggression, gaslighting,
Silent treatment.
manipulation,
Hmm. Name
humiliation,
name calling.
hmm physical abuse,
Hmm.
sexual abuse.
Yeah, those aren't in the impressions at all.
But they're also true.
Yep.
But it's
I
difficult
I
to,
struggled with that concept. Two
mhm,
things can be true at the same time. Like two completely opposite things can be true at the same time.
especially when they reside in the same person.
Yes, that is a yeah, that's a difficult one.
hmm Here's,
'Cause-
here's a couple more scenarios then that many people experience and they find it hard to reconcile. In fact, they almost can go crazy,
Hmm.
feel suicidal, have these kind of thoughts. All right. Because multiple things are true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's another scenario: you're a teenage girl, someone in your home is sexually assaulting you. Let's say it's your stepfather. He's a great guy, impression wise.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows him. He's an awesome person. However, you're experiencing sexual abuse. Whatever is happening in your home, no one else knows it but you and him.
Mm-hmm.
They tuck in at night, they creepy hanging around the shower when you go, try to go take a bath or whatever. Comments about your clothing, weird touches.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody knows him to be a great person.
Yep.
You are having a difficult time. Who are you gonna tell?
Yeah. When everybody thinks he's this awesome person.
Look what he did for you. He paid for this, he paid for that. Your real father's a deadbeat.
Mm-hmm.
This guy loves your mom. Took you in. What are you talking about? He's an awesome person.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how he treats your mom. Buys her this, buys her that. You guys live in his house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Impressions make it possible for the abuse to happen.
Yes,
Without the impressions, it wouldn't be as easy.
precisely. And the thing is, because everyone lives in the realm of the impression, when you're experiencing the truth of your abuse, it
Mm-hmm.
is almost impossible for you to bring that truth into the impression world.
Yeah.
Because
No,
then I don't know that.
nobody's gonna believe you.
No, but exactly. That's how humans are.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people have such a difficult time expressing themselves when they are being abused. In fact, they don't even want to call it abuse.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we know that from
It's not
experience.
really abuse.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't say that word. Are you sure? You can't say abuse easily. You can't say bullying easily. You got to be really cautious because, and I get why. Legally, whatever, and these things have, certain specific definitions and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you are your responsibility,
Yep.
and you have a responsibility to yourself to test your truth. And when your truth does not match up with all the impressions around you,
Mm.
it doesn't matter how awful it feels. It is better to speak up than to say something, even if no one believes you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way how I look at it is like this. If you've ever gotten on a plane and enjoyed a plane ride, you're enjoying the fact that somebody spoke up. Yeah.
Well.
Someone decided to say, I know you guys think that men can't fly and blah, 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 and ha, 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 you've laughed at me. You see me on my flying machine, trying really hard to do this thing, and said how stupid I was because people can't fly. Well, look at us today.
Mm-hmm.
It is also true that we can fly because somebody decided to say, I don't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So be brave enough, test your truth, and tell your truth.
Yep.
Have you ever found yourself in that difficult place of having to tell your truth?
A few times, yeah.
What did it feel like?
Hmm. Very difficult.
Hmm.
Like to even get up the nerve to say something because you have all these things running through your head, like nobody's gonna believe me. Um, what happens to this person? Like you're so concerned about what happens to everybody else
Hmm.
if they found out, like how it would hurt them. You're not thinking about yourself.
Even though you're hurting.
Mm-hmm. You're thinking about everybody else,
Yeah.
like how it's gonna affect them when you put, you know, their needs first, and you want to protect, their feelings and ignoring your own. If you, when you're abused, you feel worthless.
Mm,
So I think that's a big reason why a lot of people don't speak up because they don't feel like they're worth it or they deserve to have things change for them.
mm.
Because usually abusers make you feel worthless to
Yeah.
keep you silent. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Nobody abuses a confident person. It just doesn't work. But like gathering up the nerve to speak up, that one's really tough. You really have to dig deep
Yeah.
and find that courage. It's in you. It might be buried, but it's in there. You just got to find it, dig it up, and just without thinking too much, just go for it.
Yeah, that was how it was with me. Years, years it took me
Hmm.
to finally do something. And when I did, it was interesting It was like a volcano, I guess, erupting, even though I've never seen such a thing. But you hear about it, right?
Mhm.
But that's what it felt like. Like something broke inside of me, and I
Mhm.
was like, enough.
Yeah, you like reach this breaking point
Yeah, enough.
where it's more uncomfortable to be silent than it is to say something.
Yeah, because I was at the place where I was beginning to wonder, like, what's the point? What's the point of being here if my reality is fake?
Mhm.
If the truth I am living is only occurring inside my head, but outside of me, everyone sees it differently.
Mhm.
I'm living in this thing, and this thing is really awful. And everyone on the outside is telling me how wonderful it is,
Mhm.
how they wish they were like me,
Yep.
how fortunate I am. They don't know what I'm suffering.
Mhm.
They don't know what I'm going through. And I thought I was crazy. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you thinking like this? And I was like, is this true or not?
Mm.
It was so hard to figure out what was my truth versus what everyone else thought my truth is or should be.
Mhm.
And once I was able to figure out, well, no, you're not crazy, and these dark thoughts that you're having about not being here anymore or wishing something would happen to you.
Mhm. No.
I don't want to kill myself. I'm stronger than that, I believe, in terms of choosing me.
Mhm.
But when you start to even just wonder, like, what if I got in an accident?
Mhm.
Would they really miss me? Nah, I think they'll be fine. Stuff like that, right? You're
Yep.
still on the threshold, you know, and I had to bring myself back from that ledge,
Mhm.
and it was all because of impressions. I realized I was living the impression that everyone else wanted me to live, and I couldn't be myself. I couldn't live my truth.
Mhm.
And once I got the courage up to tell the truth about how I felt, what I was experiencing, then I realized, whoa, look at that. The truth really works. Like it frees you.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It's like I was completely free. It didn't matter anymore what impressions other people had.
Mhm.
Me being able to voice my truth, even to those who wouldn't listen, even to those who didn't agree, didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It was just the courage to speak it that allowed me the freedom to make my next step, to take my next action. Because whether or not they agreed with me or not didn't matter anymore.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds crazy, but that's how it worked for me.
Yeah.
Just telling the truth, So, people who've been sexually abused, yeah, you live in a sense of deep, dark shame
Mhm.
where they say things to you like, well, what were you wearing? He's such a good person. You must have caused this. You should not have been in there dressed like that with him. They turn it on you as a
Mhm.
female. They try to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I always knew you were a little frisky. I should have kept my eye on. They make the victim, the perpetrator.
Yep. It's disgusting.
Yes, be all because of impressions. Speak
Mhm.
your truth.
Absolutely. It's hard to do to begin with, but once you do it, the relief, the freedom, you'll be happy that you did.
Because the world is such a bigger place
Mhm.
than your world.
Yep.
We all live in these little tiny worlds. And if you could count all the people that you interact with willingly, they're less than 100 people.
Mhm.
You can move beyond that 100 people
Yep.
and live in a completely different world.
No.
But they limit you with the impression of family. Or if you're in a religion, they still call it family, but they
Mhm.
make it seem like if you can't exist outside of that circle.
Mhm.
But you already were when you were suffering.
Mhm.
You already were when you were in the trauma.
Yep.
Because you were already living in there all by yourself, being abused, and nobody else knew it. So what difference does it matter now when you move away from your abusers and nobody knows what's happening to you? That's the decision I made.
Mhm.
When I let go of the impression state that I was living in, and I decided to live in my truth, I realized that it really didn't matter. Believe it or not, till you experience it, till you do it for yourself.
Mhm.
And do it in something small if you don't want to go big. But you can go ahead and start telling your truth.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you've been so afraid to do something and then you finally do it. And then after you do it, you feel so much better. And then you ask yourself, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yes.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah. This is the most powerful thing you could ever do. Tell the truth.
Yep.
Don't give in to the dark thought. Don't give in to the depression. Don't do anything to hurt yourself. No, tell the truth.
Yep.
I'm feeling bad because this is what's happening to me. I'm feeling hurt because this is what is happening to me. Find that space in your mind. Allow your truth to come out.
Yep. I think uh I think that should wrap it up for today.
I think we should.
Yeah. Well, this has been an awesome talk, like every single time.
Episode number 10.
Yep.
Thank you for listening
Thank you for listening.
and stay positive.
Yep. Tell your
Tell
truth.
your truth.